Eventually, everybody did go solo, but not in the way Eazy wanted it to happen.
Ice Cube left NWA in 1989, not long after Straight Outta Compton's groundbreaking success. There were a number of reasons for his departure, many of them financial, although as Cube himself points out, NWA had been conceived as a supergroup whose members would all eventually go their own way. All were also working on solo projects, and Cube was frustrated when his own album was continually put back, with Ruthless demanding that he write the lyrics for both Eazy-E's solo album and the next NWA record before his own could be released.
We would start arguing about, like I said, the production. We would have massive arguments about who produced this, what really is producing the record. I was telling him, I said, well, if a record is unfinished and I say something to add to the record that's going to help finish the record, then I'm producing, I'm helping to produce the record. Nah. So, okay, man. I mean, we would go through all these scenarios. I said, yeah, if I'm baking a cake, if we baking a cake, you got the flour, you got the eggs, but I bring the sugar. You know what I'm saying? I'm helping to produce the cake, you know. Nah. You know, they had the philosophy, whoever did the beat, whoever did the bottom beat is the producer of the record. So that's when it just started getting real hectic.
Dr. Dre felt it got hectic when the big money started coming in.
We started seeing those big numbers. You know, we were in Phoenix, Arizona, and some of the people from Priority Record came down there with the platinum records and what have you. They came down there with checks for everybody, you know. And we were like, okay. So they came down and they set these $75,000 checks in front of all of us, right? All five of us. And we were like, okay, what's this for? And it was like, okay, this is for, you know, record sales. And this is for record sales and for an advance on the next record, you know, small advance on the next record. So we like, cool. But there was a but on the end of that, you know. But legally, you guys aren't a group. NWA is not a group legally because there are no contracts signed. See, up until then, everything was just verbal on a homeboy level, you know. This is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and that's it. And this is how we're going to get paid, you know. So Jerry Heller comes in, and he goes, yo, you guys are not a group until these contracts are signed, right? You can't get these checks until these contracts are signed. So seeing $75,000 sitting on the table, you know, we some kids out of Compton. We've seen most at one time, $2,000, you know what I'm saying? Maybe $2,000 at one time. So we like, okay, cool. Well, I ain't got no problem with it. We're a group anyway, so let's sign.
Cube still wasn't under contract and had certainly been underpaid considering his input into NWA's huge commercial success. Dre, his old writing partner, was the first person Cube confided in regarding his decision to leave.
Cube was the only smart one at the time. You know, he didn't sign the contract, you know, which, you know, that moment, they say the pen is mightier than the sword is oh so true. You know, that moment messed us up for a long time.
One of the issues affecting Cube's decision not to sign that contract was the absence of royalty money from the Eazy Does It album, which Cube, Dre, Ren, and Yella helped to produce.
Eazy royalty statement. So I just know that this money is about to be broke up 5 ways, you know, and everybody's going to get paid because everybody contribute. You know, even though Eazy was the name, NWA put that record together. And dude was like, nah, this is Eazy money. You getting NWA money. I'm like, Eazy and NWA the same thing. It ain't no difference. Besides name, that's the only thing that's different.
DJ Yella said the problems continued even after Ice Cube left.
Yo, you know what? We out of here.
There were just 4 of us left. We did the Niggas for Life album. And right after that album, that sold 1 million in a week. And it's funny because we didn't tour off of it. I think that's what really caused the problem, because we didn't tour. You know, we was trying to go for big arenas, but they wouldn't let us get in them because of insurance or, you know, whatever they were stopping us from. And then I think that's when the problem started. right after finishing that album.
While both camps stressed that there was no personal animosity at the time, things would soon turn sour as Cube went on to considerable success as a solo artist. His former bandmates felt slighted, even betrayed, and responded with a series of vicious disses on subsequent records. 1990's 100 Miles and Running EP saw Dre accusing Cube of being a traitor on the track Benedict Arnold, while threatening to sodomise him with a broomstick. Cube came back with No Vaseline and the Kill at Will EP, both sides resorting to depressingly homophobic jibes.
It just started between him and Dre, you know, whatever they little differences was, I really didn't know. I didn't even get into it. I just stayed neutral.
And because Yella stayed neutral, he was pretty much left out of the many diss records that would soon pop up between the former NWA members once they went solo. Cube described his relationship with Yella.
You know, I never had a problem with Yella. Cause I figured Yella never ever had a problem with me. And that's why he was basically left out. No Vaseline, you know what I'm saying? Like one line or something. Basically left out. Yella, all that, it was just, man, I know it's childish, but I didn't want to start that. And I didn't. And the first chance I got, I just did a record. You know, American was one, I just did a record that I wanted to do. I wasn't thinking about this and NWA and nothing like that. That didn't cross my mind. And it was shocking to really even hear that first thing on 100 Miles and Running. You know, I was like, oh, damn, it's on like this.
In NWA's 1990 gold-selling EP, 100 Miles and Running, the remaining members of NWA dissed Ice Cube for leaving the group. Cube said he couldn't let that slide without responding.
On my first album, I didn't make a point to say anything about NWA. If you listen to America's Most Wanted, it has nothing towards me. But then they did 100 Miles and Running EP, where they dissed me in the EP. So I was like, okay. So I did a little something back on Kill at Will. You know. So, on their second album, they just, came with it. So on my second album, I just was like, no holds barred, it's just on. And No Vaseline was like the result.
Dre eventually left the group for the same financial reasons Cube left, but not before recording the EP 100 Miles and Running in 1990 and the platinum-selling album Niggas for Life in 91. But looking back, Dre says that he, Eazy, and Ice Cube could have worked out their differences because the root of their beef was not with Eazy.
I had no problems with Eazy. My main problem was Jerry Heller. That was my main problem. I told Eric before I left, I was like, look, I gave him a choice. Look, you get rid of him, we all good. We can do business there. If he's still around, I can't do nothing with you, period. Because he's a bad business partner, period. As far as I know, it's nothing to just say, get rid of him and get another manager, period. Somebody just gonna be on the level. But he didn't want to do that. So I had to step and do my own thing. I had to look out for Dre.